Hey,
I
everybody,
got
it's
one
Chris
here.
Parente. I'm reporting, anchoring from home. Actually, I'm just chilling out. And as you guys know who are friends on my Facebook page, it's important for me to get conversations going with people that I respect and I admire, who I think might be able to bring some healing and definitely some understanding. This guy you're looking at right here, Chablis Dandridge, is one such gentleman. It's good to see you, Chablis.
Hey, Chris.
We've been friends now for going on, well, over a year. I had the great pleasure of meeting you through a program called Gratitude. And I was inspired by you and your story. I want folks to know, first off, Chablis has enough of a backstory to fill a book. And by the way, he actually wrote a book. It's called A Letter to My Sons. Hopefully you're seeing it right now. It's a phenomenal book. If you want to know about Chablis' life, how he got to where he is, how he transformed his life, and if you want to support our Black authors and our Black publishers, please go out and buy A Letter to My Sons, which you said, Chablis, is available on Amazon and fine booksellers everywhere. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
It's a phenomenal book. And maybe if we have time, we'll get into your backstory, because it's such an inspirational thing. But first off, I want to ask you straight up, uh, as a Black man in America, what do you want me to know and other white Americans? What is it you would want to say to us and have us really listen and take it in?
First of all, I would say to you and anybody, any person in not only white America, but America in general, Asian America, Latin America, uh, Indigenous America, um, that I love you, right? I am not a threat. I come in peace, and all that I want in my lifetime is to leave a legacy that my life meant something, right? And I didn't start there, but I'm there today. Um, so if you ask that question in this time, right now, in this time where people are hurting, I am hurting. Um, I, 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 I sometimes worry for my son and my sons and my little brother and my godson and all the young men that I serve. I work for a nonprofit organization and we help what popularly is termed as at-risk youth. I like to say marginalized community members. Um, for all of those people that we serve, right? Um, I just want us to have an opportunity to make a contribution, right? I don't want, or I don't even want to talk about what I don't want. I just want the same opportunity for myself, for my sons, for the young men and young ladies that we serve in the community organization to have an opportunity to leave a legacy, right? That's what I want. I'm not going to talk about what I don't want.
Well, one of the things I love about you is you are a man of love. That's obvious to anybody who knows you. But I'm wondering. By the way, I love you too. You know that. We, on a personal level, not on a on a personal level, we love each other. And
For
and
sure.
I want to know. You talk about for your sons and for your nephews and your godsons and the kids you work with. You want to leave a legacy. Tonight, I don't know if you can hear, there are helicopters outside of my house. I live near where the protests have been going on in Denver. There are helicopters. I've seen police SWAT vehicles going by my house. People across America are experiencing the same thing in cities across America. What is your take on the protests that you are seeing go down on your TV and outside your front door? Is there value in them? And what do you think ought to come of these protests?
So those are two good questions. Absolutely, there's value. If you look back at the annals of history and you look at any great accomplishment, it came on the heels of something tragic, something tumultuous, something devastating. Then people were awakened, aware enough to take note and listen. So do I think is necessary? Absolutely. Here's what I don't. want to see. And I know I said I'm not going to talk about what I don't want, but what I don't want to see is this hashtag, this opportunity to spark Black Lives Matter again, turn into a 9-month long fiasco and then eventually fizzle out, right? That's what I don't want to see. Now, you asked me something earlier, what I would like white America to know, right? Um, White America is, in my opinion, hurt, right? Because we know about the sins of our ancestry, right? We know how this country was founded. We know how it grew into an economic powerhouse off the backs of free labor, right? We know that, right? And we have spent hundreds of years attempting to adjust course, right? So there's a group of people who don't really understand what's going on, but why is anybody mad? You know, this is just status quo type of mentality, right? And then there's a group of people who are conscious. They realize, you know, privilege has bought them certain things and gotten them to certain places, but they also realize that it could be better, right? And in that realization, they attempt to take a stride forward. And then what happens is some people who are stuck in a colonial mentality will pull them back. And so it gets frustrating, right? And so do my white brothers and my white sisters all across the United States, but not even only across the United States, across the world, right? Berlin, Italy, England, Canada, right? They're saying, yo, when does this ever end? When do we change, right? When do we shift into something different? So a lot has to happen. And I'm sure you heard King say that Riot is the the voice of the unheard. It's the language of the unheard and the oppressed, right? People who don't have anything else say, you know, I'd rather die than to live like this again. And they go outside and they put it all on the line, right? Now is a time for our white brothers and sisters who have acknowledged, hey, it's been hundreds of years of privilege. Now's the opportunity for those people who really, really know and really, really want to shift into where tomorrow can go, to stand arm in arm with people who have been disillusioned and who have been hurt in this process and say, listen, we're not going to go backwards and we're not going to not listen. We're here, we're going to listen, and we're going to use privilege to make progress.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Privilege to make progress. Because we can do it. We can do it. It's not a lot of old mentality people. It's not a lot of, as a matter of fact, the old mentality is in the minority.
I like that. Privilege to make progress. And let me ask you, as someone who, I think there's first, I can only speak for myself in my experience, but I think there is a hesitancy for some white people. If I admit I have privilege, then I'm somehow admitting that I'm a racist or that I'm in some ways less than, other than just to acknowledge, no, that's just a fact. I have privilege because of the color of my skin. That's just to acknowledge that fact first off, I think is an important step. But let me ask you, I love you're a big picture guy. By the way, if you don't know Chablis, again, get his book, read his story. Chablis is a man who has a vision of a whole transformed world. He's a big picture thinker. But I want to take it down to, like, for me, for other white Americans, what would you like to see me do starting in as soon as this conversation ends tomorrow morning? Is it reaching out to people in the community, people of color? Is it getting involved? What can I do? A journey of 1,000 miles, one step. What would you like to see white America start to do tomorrow morning?
Well, so okay, let's break it down. Let's just, you and I. I'm a person in the demographic of African descendants in America, and you are a person of European lineage on American soil, right? So let's just say this: you already started doing what's necessary, opening up a dialogue, right? But not just opening up a dialogue, but being sincere about what all of the elements are, right? So white privilege is is it goes without saying, right? It exists in America. White privilege exists. We could spend a whole Zoom on how, right? We don't need to do that.
Right.
We also know white supremacy is an illness that exists. And I could tell you, I have a whole lot of theories on this. Maybe you and I will discuss it sometime over lunch or something. But uh, acknowledging that illness still exists, right? And then acknowledge that your black brother, your black sister, they're traumatized. We are traumatized. The day that I have to worry about if I'm in handcuffs, would a knee be put on my neck and the life squeezed out of me on camera, and the pleas of a innocent bystander that's filming will go unheard and fall on deaf ears? It's traumatic. I mean, you don't how can you not? Just think about that. Just close your eyes for a second. All of white America, under the sound of my voice, if you're listening to this broadcast, just think about it. Close your eyes, and if you had to just imagine that this was ever a possibility for you, and every day you go out into the public, you have to brave that experience. There's something I wrote about in my book, and it uh it it was Elijah Anderson. He was a junior professor of sociology, and he talked about he wrote a book called Code of the Streets, and he talked about code shifting. And he said most black men in America, when they come up against white Americans, he called them the majority, have to dispel that we are a threat before we can even be received as whoever we are, period. Whoever I am, before I can even get you to even say, oh, this guy's not that bad, I have to deal with a fear that's embedded in you that I might do something to you. And listen, truth be told, man, I cry every time I watch Forrest Gump. Every time. Seen it 19 times, cried 20. Every time. Like the
Forrest Gump.
biggest Forrest Gump. Listen, it's just the heart. It's the heart. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yeah, I do.
so, but you would never know that about me if I have on a hoodie. Look, I'm a paraplegic, right? I was shot in my back when I was 18. However, well, you know that. You know my story. I guess I'm saying that so that other people can be familiar with that. But I'm 6'2". I got a big beard. I'm pretty buff in my size. If I was walking down the street with a hoodie on at about 10:30 at night, wherever you were, this is going to require you to be real honest and vulnerable. But would your first inclination be like, "Hey, that guy's a lovable teddy bear"?
Well, it's hard for me to answer because I know you, but I think you're right. And my first thought would not be, "Hey, there's a lovable teddy bear that loves Forrest Gump." I think there will probably be a part of me if I mean, let's be honest, you're not quite as buff as I am. I'm just going to call it like it is, but you're a buff guy. I think honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, if I saw a 6'2" buff African American with a hoodie on, and it was, my first thought would not be naturally great person, let me get to know him. There might be, even unconsciously, there might be some guards that would go up. And I consider myself a progressive, enlightened, love-centered person. So maybe to even acknowledge that, wait a minute, why does my guard go up? Why would my guard go up? And would it, if that were a white man walking toward me in a hoodie? Would the same guard go up or not? I think that's a good question for all of us to ask ourselves, don't you?
So that's the thing that I'm saying. That's where we begin at. See, that's how come this dialogue is so important. You said, what do I want white America to do to today, to right now, after this broadcast is over? That right there. Ask yourself that question. You are as progressive as a person uh, that I know. I don't know anybody that's more progressive than you. I mean, like, I love you to pieces. Like, you are my brother from another mother, right? So, and this wasn't. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. When I first met you, this wasn't. Maybe it was because of where we met. This wasn't a thing that I had to develop. It was instantaneous.
Yeah, it
With
was.
my heart just connected with you,
Mhm.
right? So I can understand why you say, hey, that's a hard question to answer. But the fact that you said, you know what, I don't know. And I'm gonna be honest, a reservation may happen, right?
Mhm.
We all, not only you, not just you and your reservation of, man, lovable guy, but my reservation of, is this guy gonna do me some harm? Let me I was listening to Trevor Noah, right?
Mhm.
And he said something that was so poignant to me that I was like, wow, it just resonated crazy. He was talking about the lady Amy in New York in the park
Yeah, the
where
dog, the dog, the
the
lady who called the 911 and said, "I'm going to tell him I'm African American," is threatening my life.
so now listen, this is what he said. He said what really threw him was that this woman, but not just her, because she's an archetype for some minority of people, some minority of ill people who know how to weaponize white skin against black skin,
Mhm.
know how to say the right thing to make me a threat and to make her look like a victim. And no, they don't even know me. They don't know I'm an author. They don't know I'm a public speaker. They don't know I'm a community advocate. They don't know anything. And when they first roll up, I have the duty, the obligation, if I want to live, to dispel the threat. Off the top, I don't get the privilege of saying, you can't come over here and talk to me like that. You know what that would be met with? Brute force. We've seen it too many times. I mean, I can name, and I name in my book a number of names, but it's sickening. I don't need to do it again for white America to get the picture, right? Our white brothers and sisters get the picture already. See, this is the thing, and white America doesn't know this, right? But black America, we love y'all. We love y'all. If you will do the right thing, white America has been our allies since the abolitionists. This didn't start, oh, excuse my French, this didn't start today or yesterday. This been hundreds of years in the making. Some brave souls, some people who put their white bodies on the line and say, you know what? I love more than I hate. I want to give more than I take, right? And they've been doing it. And we love y'all. We love y'all, period. We are hurt and afraid of those who say Heil Hitler, 88, neo-Nazi, white supremacist. We're weary of those people because they come to do us harm. When a black man didn't help a white man in America, from slavery until this very moment, When has a black man not helped a white man in America? Built the country, went to work, got educations, became athletes, entertainers, uh, 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 became presidents, and did all we could to improve the quality of our lives collectively
Mhm.
by the content of our character and
Mhm.
not the color of our skin.
Mhm.
And that's all we want back. That's all we want in return. We want to be able to stand up and say, hey, you can't just treat me any kind of way, because it's not a civil right, it's a human right. It's a human decency. It's human dignity.
You know, it'll mean, I think, I really do hope everybody watching, first of all, this is phenomenal. This is exactly the kind of conversation I was hoping. That I knew you and I always have the good talks, always. Sometimes they're not suitable for broadcast, but we always have the good talks. But more than that, I hope everybody out there watching will, let me see if I can get this to work again. It's so important to read Chablis' book to better understand where he's coming from. A Letter to My Sons, Leaving a Legacy of Love. Because what we don't have time to get into in this call is really, Chablis is not just a bullshitter. Chablis not just a leader. He's also a man who has walked and fallen and gotten back up and forgiven people where it seemed like there was no. His book is just a must read. And I will ask before we run out of time, to summarize it briefly, I mean, you spent time in our prison system. You spent time away from your sons. That was what inspired you to write the book. And I asked you tonight, I said, Chablis, have you been out there? They're right now, they're gathering for in fact, it just started here in Denver, a protest tonight. I said, Chablis, have you been out there? And you said, no, because you're actually working in a different way, which is what I want to ask you finally about, because we hear about systemic and institutionalized racism, right? And you're working because you do know the prison system and the justice system, and you now advocate and work with these folk. You're working to try and disarm and and I guess, how should I say, diffuse the situation from that angle. Am I right?
So yeah, so here's what it is. How much time we got left before, so because I don't want to get us cut off.
Let's go as long until it runs out. We got at least 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, so perfect. So here's what's happening right now. This is what they said. They said, you know, all of policing in America should not be judged by a few bad apples, right? Um, However, it's not just a few bad apples. It's a culture. It's a blue culture of corruption. And this is what happens. The vets teach the newbies how to command and control, use force, be brazen, bold, and arrogant, but also who to care for and who not to care for, right? So this is what's happening. There are lieutenants, there are sergeants, there are captains. Right now, while they're protesting the street, before tear gas gets shot, before pepper balls get shot, before rubber bullets get shot, somebody gives a command. Now, if the police department truly stands with the community in wanting to listen and wanting to help heal this process, you wouldn't agitate or exacerbate what's going on. You wouldn't further make me more suspect of you by shooting me with pepper balls or tear gas or rubber bullets when I'm peacefully protesting. Now we understand that there are agent provocateurs who have come out to sow discord, and their sole mission is to make the movement look bad, to make those people, whoever they are, whether they're black or white, because we all out there in the street, everybody is incensed right now. Everybody is hurting right now. Everybody is in need of healing right now. They are out there to continue their agenda, their supremacist agenda, their cancerous agenda to continue to sow discord between people like me and you, who really want to love each other, who really want to hold each other tight, who want to stop mistrusting, who want to stop separation, who want to continue to talk. Listen, no old behavior changes one time overnight. If you mistrust the 6'2" brolic guy in the hoodie once, twice, or three times, not saying that you do, it's a behavior that has to be identified, recognized, and continually worked on. And if I mistrust the police or white America because I'm trying to jog down my street in Georgia and then all of a sudden I'm accosted by two people who, for no reason, take my life, for me to heal from that, I have to continually be put in a position where trust is built, and that we continue to talk and we continue to address what has ailed us for centuries. And it's not going to be 3 weeks or at the end of this protest healed and corrected. So working behind the scenes, what I've done is I've sat and I've asked our frontline people to give me reports of the times, the dates, the locations, and where they were and what was going on in the protest, so that I could call the police precinct and find out who was the sergeant on duty, who was the lieutenant on duty. Because if it's a bad apple, if the lieutenant told the line or the officer in charge told the front line to go ahead and pepper gas him, and he didn't get it from a captain or he didn't get it from a hierarchy, there's the bad apple. We don't gotta wonder. We don't gotta search, right? So there is a whole lot of things that could happen. And I'd say if I had one wish that we could do, it would be to create an independent review board that has nothing to do with law enforcement, that would go into every police department in the whole country and start to look at the incident reports and behavior files and the employee reviews of every police officer across the nation. And I would have, once they have identified people who have had problem behavior in the past, tell them, look, you're on probation. Bottom line, you're on probation. And if you got problems, we'll get you the treatment, we'll get you the counseling, we'll get you the training that you need in order to be more culturally diverse, more aware, more sensitive, more community oriented. But you came to protect and serve. And you didn't just come to protect and serve white America, you came to protect and serve America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say my spiritual gas tank gets full after I talk to you. I love this. And I want to ask you finally, first of all, thank you again. And everybody out there watching, you'll know more about Chablis if you read his book. Chablis is a speaker. He is an author. He is an advocate for youth. He spends his time going to schools to talk to young Americans about ways to avoid some of the mistakes he made. He goes to our prisons and he ministers to our inmates. So this is a man where the rubber hits the road, he's walking the walk. And I do encourage you to read his book. I'll let you, maybe, I'd like you to, I should say, round it out with your vision. You and I talked a lot about vision a year ago. Your vision. What do you think is possible in the United States of America? We're in a dark place now, not just with what's happening out my door, but COVID-19, unemployment. There's a lot of heavy shit right now. What is your ultimate vision for where you think America could be come 2021?
To put it real frank and in layman's terms, let's get real with each other. Let's have honest dialogue. If you hate me, tell me why you hate me. Because your grandfather told you to hate me? Do you really want to hate me? You know, because I'm gonna tell you that I love you, you know, and because you're telling me you hate me, I'm gonna be wary of how far that I bring you into me. But I'm letting you know when you decide you want to heal from hate, or you want to stop hurting, because it takes a lot to hate, man. It takes a lot of energy to hate. You want to heal from hurting? Holla at your boy, right? My vision for the world is that we can get real. We can get real with each other and start having real conversations, real dialogue, break real bread, and start to really build bridges. Bridges to what's possible, right? That's what my vision for the world is. I mean, like, they said you gotta have negative to have positive, you gotta be bad to have good. Man, listen, I'm out here saying we fall down, but we can get back up, and we can get back up together, right? We don't keep having to push each other down. So my vision of the world is a world that's united in love, peace, and prosperity. Like you say, yo, unemployment. People don't have food, right? But it's enough food for everybody. So I'm gonna cut that right there, because I can go on and on. I'll beat that drum all night, right?
I thought you were gonna say loving, compassionate, abundant,
Abundant and
unified.
unified.
Listen, I'll just say this now: when you run for office, I'll be happy to be your campaign advisor, your press. I think honestly, I've told you this. By the way, Chablis, his book's on the cusp of doing great things, and so is his public speaking circuit. I believe firmly you'll be seeing a lot from Chablis in the years ahead, because you have this amazing ability to speak from the heart and to connect, and it's a powerful thing. Thank you for sharing it on my Facebook page tonight. I will post either in the comments below or even in the headline above the link to purchase Chablis' book. A lot of what we're saying right now is, how can we support people of color? We can start with businesses. We can start with authors. We can start by empowering and supporting those kinds of projects. So I hope y'all will start tonight. And trust me, it's a hell of a read. It is a hell of a read. And when you read it, come back and rewatch this again, and you'll be like, damn. Because you mentioned it briefly. You're in a wheelchair tonight. You don't let that define you. You don't let that define you, but you're in a wheelchair. And that does not let this man, he doesn't miss a beat. I love you, man. I love you.
Hey, and I want to say this, Chris. I appreciate you for opening up this dialogue, and just wanting to know what you can do. But also, anybody, I welcome anybody, Black, white, Asian, Latino, Pacific Islander. I don't care who you are. I welcome you to reach out to me. You reach out to me, DM me on Instagram. I'm at Instagram at The Real Chablis. Matter of fact, hey, drop it in Chris's thing and tag my name, and I'll give you my phone number. That's how serious I want this dialogue to
You're not
open.
lying. He will do it. And I'll also put in the headline above this, I'll put, if you don't mind, I'll put your Facebook address so people can connect to your profile and like your profile. We'll get the book out there. And I hope to see you. I plan to see you at my wedding, which got COVID delayed. But I'm hoping to see you again this year before it's out. Chablis and I met in North Carolina, which is where he lives, but you're in Newark. You're in Newark tonight, right?
Indeed. In Newark, seeing the landscape. My hometown is Newark, New Jersey. This is where I was born. A lot of my experience came from this urban jungle, and I had to come back home to make sure that not a little bit of business that I had to take care of, but I had to see what was going on with the people.
Sure.
I had to hear the voice. So
well, you keep speaking in your voice, and I thank you for letting me listen, and I thank you for the insights you offered. Keep being a torch, because the world needs light, and boy, you do shine it brightly, my brother. I love you.
I love you too, bro.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's that. Let me